In this video, what we're going to talk about is understanding, matching, and planning on the palindrome string problem from Module 4. Okay, let's get started with understand. We want to do a deep reading of this prompt. Given a string, determine if it is a palindrome, considering only alphanumeric characters and ignoring cases. Return 0/1, 0 for false, 1 for true for this problem. Okay, so what are my inputs and what do I output? My input is a string. It's gonna have alphanumeric characters in it, but we might have other stuff. It's also not all gonna be lowercase. So we know it's gonna be a string, but it could have anything coming in. We don't know that it won't be empty. We don't know anything about it. We just know that it will be a data type string. Since we know we have to consider only alphanumeric characters and ignoring cases, I'm just going to put this up front because anytime you're working with a string, I know you kind of have to do that first, really. Is clean it before you can really do any operations on it. Return 0 or 1. So 0 and 1, though you kind of think of them as bits or true and false, when they're just together like that, they're not. They're really numbers, right? And so our data type that we're actually returning is a number, not a Boolean and not a bit or anything like that. So what I'm seeing from this is we've got to return this number. And the main thing that we're really doing in the center is we're determining if it is a palindrome. So I like to kind of take the pieces of the problem and put them like this. I start with my input string, given a string. I consider only alphanumeric characters and ignore cases first. And then I do the determining, right? That's a discrete problem in and of itself. And then I return either a 0 or a 1. Okay, so I feel like I have like the shape of the problem. There's sort of two pieces to it. Clean the string, look at the string, and determine if it's a palindrome. So what's a palindrome? Well, a palindrome is a string that is the same backwards as it is forwards. We're going to make sure we understand all the words. So if you have never heard of a palindrome before, it's the same backwards and forwards. So auto is a palindrome because if I reverse the string, it would be the same. Race car is also a palindrome, even though if I reverse this exact string, it wouldn't be the exact same because we have this space and this uppercase thing. But as we know, we only want to consider alphanumeric characters and we want to ignore cases. So this would be a lowercase c, this would be a lowercase r, and there'd be no space here. So it's RACECAR, and that is the same backwards as it is forwards. There's sort of two ways to say this. A palindrome is the same backwards as it is forwards, or the first half is the same as the second half. So I've kind of got two methods. Method 1 is the string the same backwards and back to S and forwards? And then the second method here, I think that I have is the string, is the first half of the string the same as the second half? Those are sort of the two ideas I have for how to solve this. Now that I have like kind of a couple of my ideas out, I want to think about, okay, are there other problems that are somewhat similar? Well, I haven't had to clean a string before in this series, and so if you've never had to clean a string before, it's hard to match. But if you think about arrays and strings are very similar. A string is secretly just an array of characters. You can kind of loop over it, you can address certain indices in it, and so you have dealt with sequences before. It's just that the sequences you've dealt with have all been numbers instead of letters. But we know if computers think numbers and letters are the same thing. And so this is somewhat similar to other problems that you may have looked at before. Excel column number, anything like that. You've indexed into strings, you've done manipulation on a little bit of strings. So you can kind of think back to that, or the rotate array function is another one. If you've ever done rotating arrays, you'll know that you kind of had to like change what was in it, right? You had to change the sequence while maintaining its order. So there's sort of some similar operations there of like taking something off the end and maybe doing something compared to the beginning of it. So I think I can think of ways to do that. What we're going to do is in the next video, we're going to translate and break down this problem a little bit more. Try it on your own and then come back to the next video for help.